Serial killers have terrified society with their chilling acts of violence. While the majority of notorious serial killers are male, there have been a number of females who have left their own dark legacies. It's time to take a look at the top 10 deadliest women in history. Gesche Gottfried. Gesche used arsenic to poison and kill 15 individuals from 1813 to 1827. In her power as a nurse, she surreptitiously introduced the poison into the meals of those under her care. Among her victims were her parents, 2 husbands, fiancé, and children. The public execution of Gottfried marked the final instance of such a punishment in the city of Bremen. Kristen Gilbert. Kristen Gilbert, a nurse at a Massachusetts medical center, committed multiple murders and attempted murders by injecting patients with untraceable doses of heart stimulant, causing cardiac arrest. She would then conveniently respond to the emergencies herself. In 1998, she was convicted and is serving a life sentence at the Federal Medical Center in Carswell, Texas. Miyuki Ishikawa. During the 1940s, a Japanese midwife, aided by accomplices, killed infants. Approximately 85 to 169 lives were taken, with around 103 victims as a rough estimate. She demanded payment for her crimes, arguing that it was cheaper than raising unwanted children. Most of her victims were abandoned kids. Ultimately, Ishikawa was sentenced to 4 years of imprisonment. Aileen Wuornos. Aileen Wuornos, a notorious serial killer, killed 7 men in Florida from 1989 to 1990. She argued that these killings were acts of self-defense, as the men had either raped or tried to rape her while she worked as a prostitute. Wuornos was arrested in 1991, convicted of 6 of the killings, and sentenced to death. In 2002, she was killed by a deadly injection. Her case received serious media coverage and inspired many books, movies, and documentaries. Jane Toppan. Jane Toppan was a nurse in New England who assassinated multiple patients. She confessed to killing 31 individuals by using a mix of drugs like morphine and atropine, and sometimes getting in bed with her victims after allotting the harmful dose. Despite her crimes, she was declared not guilty by reason of insanity and sentenced to lifelong detention in the Taunton Insane Hospital. It is believed that she may have taken the lives of around 70 people during her 20-year career. Juana Barraza. Juana Barraza, known as the Old Lady Killer, was a Mexican wrestler and serial killer who targeted elderly women from 1998 to 2006. Posing as a government worker, she gained their trust, only to attack and strangle them with various items before robbing them. Barraza was arrested in 2006 and convicted in 2008 for 16 murders and aggravated burglary. She received a 759-year prison sentence, and it is believed that her deep-seated hatred for her mother, who allowed her to be sexually abused as a child, fueled her brutal acts. Judius Buenoano. Judy Buenoano poisoned her husband James Goodyear with arsenic in 1971 to claim insurance money. In 1977, she did the same to her boyfriend Bobby Morris after taking out life insurance policies on him. In 1980, she poisoned her son Michael and caused his death by capsizing a boat. Her crimes were discovered in 1984, leading to her execution by electric chair in 1998. Buenoano was the first woman to be executed in Florida in 150 years and was suspected of other murders as well. Dorothea Puente. Dorothea Puente, nicknamed the Death House Landlady, ran a boarding house in Sacramento, California, where she killed old and mentally disabled tenants using sleeping pills and suffocation. She then collected their social security checks for her own gain. Puente's crime spree started in the early 1980s. The authorities became aware of her actions when a local disabled man was reported missing, leading to the discovery of 7 bodies on her property. Nanny Doss. Nancy Hazel, also known as Nanny Doss, was a popular serial killer who used poison to kill 11 people, including her partners and children, over a span of 30 years. The deaths of her family members raised suspicion, leading to an autopsy that revealed traces of arsenic in one of the deceased. It was later uncovered that Doss had murdered 4 husbands, 2 children, 2 sisters, her mother, 2 grandchildren, and a mother-in-law. Amelia Dyer. In the mid to late 1800s in Britain, a nurse and midwife turned into a serial killer. Initially, she starved the babies to death while collecting the money for their care. A local doctor grew suspicious of the high number of deaths under her care and ordered an investigation. During the inquiry, the remains of murdered infants were found in the Thames River, leading back to her. She was executed in 1896, and is believed to have murdered more than 400 infants, making her one of history's most notorious serial killers. Well, that's it for today's video. That's it for